wonder if Hannah would come up and lead us in the pledge. And we're going to wish her a happy birthday for Saturday.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, Hannah. This session of the Lincoln County Commission on September 1st, 2011 at 6 p.m. is now called to order. Members present is Charles McCann, President, Charles Vance, Commissioner, Thomas Ramey, Jr., Commissioner. First thing on the agenda, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular session of the Lincoln County Commission meeting that was held on August the 18th, 2011 at 10 a.m.
So moved. Second. A motion and second. That being all yes votes, motion carries.
Okay, I don't have any discussion or concern at this meeting. So we'll go on over to old business. Rick McDowell.
Welcome, Rick.
Hello, friends. I don't have any handouts tonight. I'm just going to talk a little bit.
Save a tree.
I guess. We still haven't found anybody to take over some of the extra duties that we've got. I had a few people who expressed some interest. Of those people, some people have actually come for a face-to-face just sort of discussion about it. I've also got a young man at the high school who's interested in helping do some of the sampling. So my hope is that that's going to be able to work out. Some of the universities in the area are posting stuff about it. One of the thoughts is that we might get somebody who want to do a research project as a starter, get them out here, get them involved, they get excited about it, and they come on board. So hopefully, before we go too much farther, I'll be able to give you something good about it. I wanted to talk about a system where we've got problems. Seems like all the time I'm bringing you these problems. This is one of the early systems. We started putting these systems in 2007, I think. This was one that we put in 2008. One of the deals is that when the installer puts the system in, they have to maintain it for 2 years. So the system went in May 2008. The installer had to watch it until 2010. And then the local homeowner was supposed to renew their permit to NPDES. It's a federal permit to put the waste into the creek. The homeowner didn't do it. No inspections happened from May 2010 until just recently. And on the positive side, because we've got this maintenance organization started, homeowners are sort of looking again at the option of joining, and so this person decided they wanted to join. Before they're allowed to join, they had to have an inspection. So we went out 2 weeks ago to do the inspection. We opened, this is one of these peat systems. We opened the peat system, and there was all this liquid floating on the top. You don't want that. The peat's supposed to have everything go down through and go out. The other problem was that the peat looked like it was decomposing, which is not a good sign. So Lyle and I went back out early this week with our shovels and dug out half of one of the peat modules. And as we went down, we discovered about 2 inches down this thin layer of grease that went through the whole module. Okay. You're not supposed to put grease in your system, of course. And one of the things that happens with the grease is that it can prevent the module from working right because water pounds at the top. It doesn't filter through. It also makes it decompose. So as we dug this module up, in our mind, it looked like the peat was not salvageable. The guys from Board of Home thought that if we dug it all out by hand, these have 1,500 pounds of dry peat. This peat's now wet in each module. we dug all this out by hand and put it out on a tarp and let it dry, would be okay. We dug half of it out, put it out on a tarp. I don't think it's going to be okay. So one of the challenges is, okay, can we get some financial help to replace the peat that's in there? My feeling is that during that time when the installer should have been checking the module, I don't think this problem just happened in the last 15 months. I think this problem was an ongoing kind of problem. And my feeling is that maybe Board Nimona is going to feel that way too, and they're going to feel some responsibility. It was their person who put the system in. We've asked them if they'll help. We haven't gotten any reply yet. I'm sure they're scurrying around the boardroom saying, oh my goodness, here's Lincoln County again. What are we going to do about it? So I'll keep you updated on that. But as I've been thinking about it, it seems like there are a couple important lessons that have sort of come out of this thing. I think one of them is that this maintenance organization is really going to be critical for the health of these systems. Because even though we had an installer who was supposed to be maintaining the system, I don't think they were doing it to the degree that they ought to. And I think that's the other sort of learning thing that's coming out of this, is what the state is telling installers they have to do as far as maintenance just isn't enough to protect these systems from going on. And then the last thing that I think is real important is that we've got to do a better job educating homeowners about what goes in these systems and what doesn't. I think, you know, when you've had a funky septic tank that doesn't really, it's out of sight, out of mind, there are no alarms that go off, you really don't know what's happening. You can dump anything you want to down there. Now we've got these higher tech systems, and we've got to try to get people to understand that they have to take better care of it, and you just can't be dumping this grease in there. So we'll see what happens. You know, I hope I can come back to you and say that Board Nimona is going to at least pay for part of the costs. I'm not sure the maintenance organization is going to, itself is going to be willing to do this, because I think they're going to feel both that it's homeowner responsibility and that it's the installer responsibility. You know, this is a low-income homeowner. I don't think they can come up with the money to fix this system, so it's going to be a balancing act to see how we do this. No pictures.
There's no money left in the fund.
Well, see what we did, we transferred all the money that was the COBET money to the maintenance organization to use as seed money for that. So what money we had, they now are controlling, and they're probably rightly, they feel strongly that they've got to hold homeowners responsible for what's happening, and they don't want to keep bailing people out for continuing to make bad
Makes
mistakes.
sense.
Yeah, it does. So I'm not sure what the solution is, but my hope is that we'll find one. As far as phase 4 goes, DEP keeps talking about it. They haven't sent us anything official. We've sent them a preliminary budget. In 2 weeks from now, we're going to hold the final inspection of DEP of phase 3. My thought is that once that's done, and once they've all sort of signed off and feel okay that we finished phase 3 successfully, that that's going to be the time to say to them, okay, is phase 4 really going to be real or not? And I guess the final thing about phase 4 is it worries me that we keep putting these systems in when we're still learning so much about how to make them work. But on the other side, if the money's there, it seems like you hate not to keep putting systems in. I'll let you guys make that decision. Any questions?
Just continue to have fun.
Oh, we are. We are. Anybody want to come out and dig?
That sounds like it's, you're having a good time.
Oh.
Pete.
Yes. Oh, boy.
Rick, after the meeting, remind me, because I have a young man that lives in that area,
Okay.
as you were talking. hit me as a possibility for that position.
Great, good. More people we can encourage, the better.
Next thing on the agenda is Harts Community Center. Do you have anything to report?
I visited the community center the last 2 Wednesdays during Government Day, and everything was running smooth. And Brandon Bentley, who's in the audience, was there the last 2 Wednesdays. Came over, and even though he's from McCorkle, he paid his taxes at Harts this past Wednesday.
As did I. I find it to be, I mean, the people up there really, really like that, and I think they really utilize it, and I think that's what we really want to look at is in these community centers is to serve as many of the citizens as we can, and that's a very welcome service up there.
Next thing on the agenda is the McCorkle Community Center. Doris, do you have anything?
No, I didn't make up any minutes. We had a meeting on August the 25th with Mr. McCann and the Outreach Center and the Board of Directors, and trying to smooth out some problems we had. We'll see if it works. Our regular meeting is September the 9th, next Friday at 6 p.m.
Sharon, do you have anything to add for the outreach?
Everything's going fine. We've had an out, everything. But we do want to thank you for letting us order more trucks. We haven't got them yet, but thank you.
I'll give a report if I do my meeting over
Next thing on the agenda is new business. I need a motion to approve the bills as submitted for payment.
Second.
there. Motion and second, being all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the exoneration orders as submitted by Tracy Dempsey Assessor.
So moved.
Motion and second, being all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to appoint Jim McCoy as Mental Hygiene Commissioner to the Community Criminal Justice Board of Directors.
Second.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries. This is what Jerry Swanson requested.
Yes. As you all know, precinct number 4 here in Hamlin is down here at the old Hamlin Junior High, the fire department. The fire department gave it back to the Board of Education. The Board of Education went in there to see if anything was usable. And there's so much mold and mildew, they're going to tear the facility down. They've already removed all of the utilities from it. So when Brenda called, it was really too late for us to go in and do a change for precinct. So we're going to have to enter in an emergency order to move this precinct over to the Hamlin Elementary with a 5A and 5B. And then after that, we can decide when we do our precinct changes where you're wanting all the precincts to be. Then we will have to go and post this in the area of precinct 4, and then on election day we'll have to also post the doors down there at the junior high. So I need an approval to enter an emergency order to move precinct 4 from the Hamlin, got the Hamlin in there twice, Fire Department, Old Middle School to Hamlin Elementary for the upcoming special election to be held on October the 4th, 2011.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to partner with the Lincoln County Health Department for a workshop on the soft usage of drugs, alcohol, and weapons presented by Dr. Terry L. Smith to be held on September the 20th, 2011 at 6 p.m. at the Lincoln County High School.
Second.
Motion second, being all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to reopen the estate of James Wheeler Church and set a hearing date of September 15, 2011 at 10 a.m. on the petition for elective shares as requested by Lilly Church and Council Ronald South.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, being all yes vote, motion carries.
I need a motion to appoint Larry W. Conway to the Lincoln Economic Development Authority Board of Directors.
Second.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve an inter-office budget revision for the Office of the County, transferring $2,198.70 from record books to $1,800 salary and wages, $137.70 FICA, and $261 to retirement as requested by Donald C. Whitten Clerk.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the appointments and vacation on Lincoln County Commission by Donald C. Wood, clerk.
Second.
Get a motion and second. All yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to accept the resignation of Cindy Vance as process server animal control officer effective August 31st, 2011.
So moved.
Motion and second. Being all yes vote, motion carries.
Okay, public comments. Anybody in the audience that's not on the agenda that would like to speak at this time?
You're a quiet audience.
For real? This is gonna be a record. Next thing on the agenda is commission concerns. Commissioner Vance?
I don't have anything.
Okay, I would just like to report on a few things I've been doing over the last few weeks. I had received several phone calls from the Man's Knob area of Harts, and that area had applied for and asked for water extension. And to be able to report back to the people of that area, I contacted an engineer with E.L. Robinson, Rick Roberts, and he explained to me that that particular area is receiving water through a self-help program, and the Logan PSD is the organization that's going to expand the water for that area. They have been working in Logan, and they're actually behind because they've had so many projects over the summer. So as soon as they finish the Logan projects, they'll be coming into Lincoln to work on that project and also one at Big Ugly. So they're approximately 1.5 to 2 months behind schedule. Also worked with the Harts Fire Chief, and he was trying to find the best avenue to purchase some air tanks. Most of the air tanks at the Harts Fire Department were 2 to 3 decades old, and were at the point of just not working at all. So with the help of County Administrator Johnson, we were able to get him connected up with the proper channels, and he has placed that order. I met with the Assistant Superintendent of Schools, Jeff Huffman. He had stopped by to talk about the direction of the school system. During the conversation, he did bring up the possibility that the county could look at a bond in the future for some major facility updates. And I told him that if the bond would be one that I would see as educationally sound, but also would keep the children in their communities, because I think that we've had enough consolidation in Lincoln County. I think it's very important for us to have community-based middle and elementary schools, and if we could preserve those schools within the communities, that I would take a serious look at it. But also I want to make sure that the school system leadership is taking the county in the right direction. I think there's still a lot of people in the county concerned that they want to see a strong leader at the top, since local control is back in the hands of the local board. And I think that for the county to be ready to support a bond, they need to know the system's moving in the right direction. I've spoken with Ellen Courts and others from the 10-mile area worried about water, and I explained to her and the others that the bid would be awarded within 90 days, and soon after that point, hopefully dirt would be moved. Been talking with Ann Ramswar from Step by Step, trying to work out another drug take-back day, and tentatively the schedule will be October the 29th, and we're going to work with her to see to it that the funding is there for them to be able to make this become a reality. Also, Ann and I both were at a literacy roundtable this week in Huntington, and I was actually invited and accepted to be the keynote speaker at the roundtable. During the roundtable, we talked about literacy problems in not only West Virginia, but Kentucky and Ohio. And again, pretty much my keynote was about, in West Virginia, can't speak for Ohio and Kentucky, but in West Virginia you can't talk about literacy and the shortcomings without talking about state policy. I think that the State Board of Education and the Department of Education in West Virginia, they make a lot of decisions that are not research-based, and they make decisions that result in many students dropping out of high school, and they make decisions that suppress student achievement. And while we need to work on those who are out of school now that are struggling with literacy, we also need to examine why did they end up at that point to begin with. And when you have a state that's closed approximately 300 schools over the last 2 decades and based very few decisions on research, it's alarming to me. The people of this state are among the highest spenders per capita when it comes to the amount of money they put in the public education system, but we rank among the worst when it comes to outcomes. And I think that has everything to do with the way the State Department of Education prioritizes the money. 2 more things. I do have NACO, which is the National Association of Counties, had asked that all county commissioners and county commissions across the country sign on to a resolution. I was going to read the resolution into the record and ask that this commission support this resolution in light of September 11th. At least on my tie, because this is a very long resolution. The Lincoln County Commission, joining the national moment of remembrance of the 10th anniversary of September 11th. Whereas the governing body of Lincoln County, West Virginia, expresses their support of the United States Senate regarding coming together as a nation and ceasing all work or other activity for a moment of remembrance beginning at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on September 11, 2011, in honor of the 10th anniversary of the terrorist attacks committed against the U.S. on September 11, 2001. And whereas at 8:46 a.m., September 11, 2001, hijacked American Airlines Flight 11 crashed into the upper portion of the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City, New York, and whereas 17 minutes later, at 9:03 a.m., hijacked U.S. Flight 175 crashed into the South Tower of the World Trade Center, and whereas at 9:37 a.m., the west wall of the Pentagon was hit by hijacked American Airlines Flight 77, the impact of which caused immediate and catastrophic damage to the headquarters of the Department of Defense. And whereas at approximately 10 a.m., the passengers and crew of hijacked U.S. Air 93 acted heroically to retake control of the airplane and thwart the taking of additional American lives by crashing the airliner into Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and in doing so, gave their lives to save countless others. And whereas nearly 3,000 innocent civilians were killed in the heinous acts of September 11, 2001, and whereas tens of thousands of individuals narrowly escaped the attacks at the Pentagon and World Trade Centers as witnesses to this tragedy and forever changed, and whereas countless fire departments, police departments, first responders, governmental officials, workers, emergency medical personnel, and volunteers responded immediately and heroically to those horrific events. And whereas the Fire Department of New York suffered 343 fatalities on September 11th, the largest loss of life of any emergency response agency in U.S. history. And whereas the Port Authority Police Department suffered 37 fatalities in the attack, the largest loss of life of any police force in U.S. history in a single day. And whereas the New York Police Department suffered 23 fatalities as a result of the terrorist attacks. And whereas the impact of that day on public health continues through 2011 as nearly 90,000 people are at risk of or suffering from negative health effects as a result of the events of September 11, including 14,000 workers and 2,400 community residents who are sick and tens of thousands of others whose health is being monitored. And whereas 10 years later, the people of the United States and people around the world continue to mourn the tremendous loss of innocent life on that fateful day. And whereas 10 years later, thousands of men and women in the U.S. Armed Forces remain in harm's way, defending the U.S. against those who seek to threaten the U.S. And whereas on the 10th anniversary of this tragic day, the thoughts of the people of the U.S. are with all the victims of the events of September 11th and their families. And whereas the lives of Americans were changed forever September 11th, 2001, when events threatened the American way of life. And whereas in 2009, Congress and the President joined together to designate September 11th as a National Day of Service and Remembrance under the Serve America Act. And whereas in September 2009 and 2010, President Obama issued Proclamation 8413 and Proclamation 8559, proclaiming September 11, 2009 and September 11, 2010 respectively as Patriot Day and National Day of Service and Remembrance. And whereas September 11th will never and should never be just another day in the hearts and minds of the people of the U.S. Now therefore be it resolved that the governing body of Lincoln County, West Virginia recognizes September 11th, 2011 as a day of solemn commemoration of the events of September 11th, 2001 and a day to come together as a nation, and offers its deepest and most sincere condolences to the families, friends, loved ones of the innocent victims of September 11th terrorist attacks, and honors the heroic service, actions, and sacrifices of the first responders, law enforcement personnel, state and local officials, volunteers, and countless others who aided the innocent victims of those attacks, and in doing so, bravely risked and gave their own lives, and recognizes the valiant service, actions, and sacrifices of the U.S. personnel, including the U.S. Armed Forces, the U.S. intelligence agencies, the U.S. Diplomatic Service, Homeland Security, and law enforcement personnel and their families who have given so much, including their lives and well-being, to support the cause of freedom and defend the security of the United States, and reaffirms that the people of the United States will never forget the challenges our country endured on and since September 11th, 2001, and will work tirelessly to defeat those who attacked the U.S., and be it further resolved that on the 10th anniversary of this tragic day in the United States history, the governing body of the Lincoln County Commission in West Virginia calls upon the people and institutions of the United States to observe a moment of remembrance on September 11th, 2011, including media outlets, houses of worship, military organizations, veterans organizations, airlines, airports, railroads, sports teams, the federal government, state and local governments, police, fire, and other public institutions, educational institutions, businesses, and other public and private institutions. And be it further resolved that the governing body of Lincoln County, West Virginia encourages the observance of the moment of remembrance to last for 1 minute, beginning at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, by, to the maximum extent practicable, ceasing all work or other activity and marking the moment in an appropriate manner, including by ringing bells, blowing whistles, or sounding sirens.
Thank you, Mr. Raymond. I would entertain a motion at this time to adopt this resolution as read.
I move.
I will second.
Motion second, all yes. I think it's worthy that we do stop and recognize such an act that none of us had ever seen before. Go ahead, you got something.
One more thing. In light of this being the last meeting before Labor Day, I just wanted to touch upon and recognize those across this country and the county and the state that are in the workforce. And I think that as of the last year, and I've followed labor and the labor movement all my life, coming from a union household where my father is a retired UMWA coal miner, and just wanted to read something just that I felt was important to say. The labor movement began as people started to work together to improve working conditions. Although there are many laws to protect workers, there are still many concerns. We must continue to fight, because this is not just a labor issue, this is a social and economic issue, social and economic justice. Unions have a substantial impact on the compensation and work of the lives of both union and non-union households. Unionized workers receive more generous health benefits than non-unionized, They also paid 18% lower health care deductibles and smaller shares of the costs for family coverage. In retirement, unionized workers are 24% more likely to be covered by health insurance, paid for by the employer. It should come as no surprise that unions raise wages, since this has always been of the main goals of unions and a major reason for collective bargaining. In this ever-changing world, really we're all brothers and sisters, and we should try to take care of one another. And I think that workers deserve to be paid a fair compensation for a hard day's work. And my hat goes off to all of you that are workers and continue to wage the battle to protect not only yourself but your brothers and sisters. That's all I have.
Sounds good to me. I had several issues going on. It's been a enjoyable week, but also had a little bit of sickness going on, so just things are working out, but it's been a little bit harder than usual. But anyway, after the last meeting on the 19th of August, I did meet with Alan Holder and a couple other people looking at a suitable site at the North Industrial Park to develop some fenced-in parking security-wise, because Alan and different people have, fire departments, they have so many trailers now and with stored emergency supplies and generators and lighted markers and there's so many things. It's cluttering up the 911 center. We did get permission from EDA to use a piece of property between the new building that's going up for the Woodall guys are putting up there. Basically, as a gas line, then there's a piece of property there that they are going to let us use before you get up to the bus system. And basically, not sure what we're going to find, because we do know that there's some junk in there that was on the other side when they did the bus garage. So we're going to get into that. But anyway, it's a piece of property that will help Alan and other people store their equipment. So we're going to try to work with them and try to get that done next week. On the 25th of August, I did attend the McCorkle meeting of the board, and we heard earlier in the report that we had the Crime Watch also there with the outreach people. And so basically, we had a good meeting, I thought. Gave people a chance to say what was on their mind. They might not have had the opportunity to say otherwise or whatever, but you know, I left there with a good feeling. It's so good to know that there's that many people wanting to use that facility, but also left with a sort of a feeling that there's too many needs for the size of the building. And we talked about some of those issues when I was there, and trying to come up with some storage containers maybe outside, and we are in the process of trying to secure those, at least one, and talked about dividing a room. And again, talked again this week with the gentleman we talked to about maybe doing that, putting that divider up. And he basically had measured, and he said all the rooms are basically the same size, and we would have 2 rooms that would be approximately 22 feet by 15 feet. Which is not a lot of space, but it just seems like that everybody is trying to get a lot done, but they just don't have enough space to get it done in. So I'm not sure how well things are going to work, but I think we do have everybody trying to figure out solutions, and that's what we need, is how to make things work. So I'll be continuing to work on that with everybody involved, and we hope to be able to make some improvements there. I haven't seen anybody out there that doesn't want to see it stay there and see things happen. It's just a matter of who does what and when they do it. And it seems like one of the things that I picked up on and we talked about a little bit was, in most organizations, when you have people, communications is key. And it's been an issue, I think, of trying to make sure that communication is established and carried out and understood with some of the issues. So we'll continue to work with them, or at least I will, and I'm sure the commission wants to see it happen, but we gotta work together to make things work. On August the 30th, this week, attended the Farmland Protection Board meeting. The county commission has a representative. I don't have voting, but I do, we are requested to be there and provide input and whatever, but we're still struggling with the mineral rights issues we've talked about in the past. That it's particularly in our county and a few surrounding counties, so much of the mineral is separated from the landowners, and there's people who want to mine it or just want to hang on to it for investment. But it's been a real issue because with all the publicity we've heard, good and bad, about the Marcellus Shale, it makes it more complicated, I think, for farmland protection to try to get permission to put an easement on property for farmland protection when you know that there could be development of maybe a serious gas well that may produce lots of money and things. So that makes it a really serious issue. We have, I think, made progress in that we have met and agreed to use a geological mineral group. I guess they have a loose-knit organization this time, but one of them is a retired professor at Marshall of geology, and another one of his geology students went together to form some type of business arrangement, and they're going to work with us in trying to do the research on it. We give him a farm tract of land to look at, try to assist us in determining is there any mineral available on this property, even though somebody may own it, but is it mineable, or is it something that could be producing gas, whatever. And we met and talked about that and made an agreement, and that's basically where we're at this juncture. The group does have somewhere around $140,000 plus in their bank account due to the money that we collect here on transactions of real estate. After the meeting, Dr. Lauren Smith, he's our chairperson of this group, he requested a meeting dealing with county commission concerns. And basically, he just shared with me some of the stuff that's been in the paper the last week or so about the high teenage pregnancy rates, and he was just very concerned from the health point of view that we need to not just overlook this issue in Lincoln County. Everybody has a stake in this, and we should try to. I think I got a cough drop Thomas has read out, I just let him read it. But anyway, the issue of teenage pregnancy is a concern of the health department and the school system, and he just asked the county commission to join with him at the appropriate time to provide whatever assistance we could. And he believes that the churches are looking at this in a different light maybe than they have in the past. How can they help? And I did read the remarks in the paper from the board meeting before the president of the school board, Mr. Matthews, had made some good remarks. I'm really trying to give this cold to Dr. Mason. He says he's got it, but it didn't help me.
I was going to say, if you want me to talk about the state board, I will while you're on that.
Or I could interject, having talked with Lauren about this and seeing this firsthand in the practice we have at Hearts, is that this this is one of the predictors of how well we do in our health care. And one of the things that we see is this level going up, and it not be, you can't not pay attention to them and it'll go away. It's not one of those type things. Some things are like that, but this is not one. This is something that's going to require educating a whole lot of people, including the kids. It's probably the, when we look at, and if you look nationwide, we don't do a real good job of it. We're not as good as a lot of the other countries are as far as mortality and things like that with our infants. And one of the high-risk things in infant mortality we see is having teenage pregnancies. And that's what we're dealing with. To get the whole system working the way it should be, we're all going to have to participate in it.
Thank you. Other on that day, I did go on to Hurricane that same afternoon to buy the supplies that the commission provides for the turkey shoot, which is September the 10th. And we usually give out several prizes for the contest, then we give out some door prizes. Ends up about 50 different items, so we got that ready. Yesterday, I attended a meeting in Charleston, Department of Highways, and with people from the Lincoln PSD board, being Ron Gregory and Mike Mostow, looking at the possibility of getting the sewage system ideas moving in for the Allen Creek area. And basically, yesterday we wanted to find out, is it possible to run parallel to the quarter G and use their right-of-way? And we found out that that's very limited, that in some cases you may be able to get some permits, but you could not run it all the way through. And what South Charleston people, the city of South Charleston, really wants to start at the Holiday Inn Express there and come all the way down to the Kanawha County line along quarter G with the sewage, and then Lincoln PSD would pick it up from there and take it on through Allen Creek. And the engineers were there yesterday and had some drawings and discussion, and Kanawha County had their engineer there, and basically determined that we're still going to pursue it. We just got to look at it, maybe looking at 214 as the main trunk area, and then having spurs that would come out to the quarter G. There was a lot of discussion and frustration along the idea that these quarters, G and D, H, all of them are built for economic development, really. It opened up the interiors of the state for economic development and movement of traffic. But somewhere about 40, 50 years ago, the state legislature adopted a law that says, no, these quarters cannot be used to put gas lines, sewage lines, any type of utility along the road. And so the conclusion was somebody wasn't looking to the future very much, or they would not, because most states do not have that law. West Virginia is one of the few states that has such a law. Kentucky and maybe North Carolina, Virginia around do not, that benefit from the same monies. So we got a good road, but we're just not going to be able to develop it unless you do it from some other angle. So, but the engineering group seemed to think that they can still do it. It may cost more money, but may not be as productive as far as bringing new businesses along the corridor, because without the sewage, we can, the water thing just not going to happen. So, but we found that out anyway.
And Tuesday night, I did talk with Kit Carper about that very thing, as far as development of that place down through there, and he seems to be real positive about what they can do from the Kanawha County side.
They had their engineer there, Leonia, I believe his name was. This morning, attended a special board meeting at the EMS as a board member, and we had some personnel issues that just had to be dealt with. And that happened this morning, and this afternoon we had a short meeting, evaluation team at the Tri-River Transit, And of course, the best part of all the report is, I saved for last, is that last Saturday, I did enter the Lincoln Primary Care Chili Fest, Heat in the Heels, and with my wife and a couple of my granddaughters, and due to my age, they gave me a first place trophy, so that represented the county commission, so I accepted on behalf of the commission. I aimed to bring it this evening, I forgot. But it's a big hot red pepper, made out of glass. That
So
concludes
you
my
should have brought us some chili.
Well, you know, I would have, but they ate it all that day. So. Okay, that's it. Anything else that anyone has to bring before the commission? I'm doing better now, I can talk to them. I would like to make a note and bring to your attention down to the bottom of September the 15th for the next meeting at 10. Also, September 17th at 5, that's a Saturday, meets the 30-day requirement on the posting of the magisterial districts that we have out there, and we will be meeting that evening to pick a plan. So, and also, a bid opening is what, today?
September the 8th at 6 o'clock.
At 6 o'clock. We have to have at least 2 commissioners here to just receive the bids and open them up and read them, but take action until the 15th or later.
I just would like to say in regards to the redistricting, a special thank you to the Lincoln Journal, because I guess the ads that you were able to put together, people clearly understand what they mean, and I've gotten lots of feedback as a result of those. Thank you.
Was that September 8th at 6?
Excuse me, September the 8th at 6 o'clock, yes.
We did have a little bit of tweaking of with the legislature going back in session and working on trying to get the 16th district, the old 15th, and getting that taken care of. And they were able to do that, getting the 35 people out of the Fez precinct moved down into West Hamlin, since it's already 400 and some over there in Bear Creek area. So we did receive that information, and adjustments I think has been made. And also we have precinct information for each of the 5 plans. Is that correct?
Yes.
Each commissioner has that.
Yes, we have that in your packet. I have a couple more copies here if anybody's interested in seeing it. I couldn't tell much that there was any difference.
Pretty much what we've talked about in the past. No change on that, just maybe a line a little bit different or something. But still with the plan, we'll have 14 precincts into 12, not before that. Anything else? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Motion second, we stand adjourned. 6.
We changed a couple.